Brock Lesnar versus Jon Jones, the fight that's never in a million years going to happen, but fun to talk about. So many problems with that fight. I mean, first off, the fact that Lesnar's suspended. Second off, that Jones is suspended. Lesnar has no end in sight because of the way, because he never served his suspension. He actually broke the clock, exited the USADA pool, so then you got to test some legalities there on licensing. You then grab Jon Jones, who is going to come back and is serving his suspension, but at this point it's a little bit indefinite and a little bit up in the air. We can reasonably guess that he's going to be back next summer, which is right around the corner. Okay, great. Where are you going to have the fight? I could tell you there was a fight over the weekend in the PFL that was in New York, and there was a rule invoked in the heavyweight division that none of us knew was a rule. That no fighter, including at heavyweight, can be separated by more than 40 pounds. So one of the guys weighed in at about the limit of 265, and the other guy weighed in at about 214, and either way, they were separated by this 40 pounds. I'm throwing those numbers at you, but the point is they were separated by the 40 pounds. They called the fight off, even though they were both heavyweights, which means you're under 265 and you're over 206. Fight got called off. So where are you going to hold this fight? You better check that first. Jon Jones is going to come in there a maximum of 225, and Lesnar is going to come in at the limit, I assume. A clean Brock Lesnar, maybe much less. But I think that you just got some problems right out of the gate with that fight. The other side of this coin is Lesnar's terrible. That's the one thing that we never talk about because he's such a good draw and such a good presence, and he won a world championship. But we never talk about the elephant in the room, which is Brock Lesnar sucks. And, as much as Brock Lesnar sucks, and I would be stunned if anybody was to challenge me anybody in the know was to challenge me on that statement. That would stun me. The other side of it, if we're being fair here, is he's very effective. I mean, how can you say a guy sucks if he gets his hand raised? And that's something that Brock's been very good at his whole life, is getting his hand raised. He was a national champion in college. I was the same year as Brock Lesnar. I watched him win the national championship. And so many people will turn back to that and go, what a great amateur wrestler, and this guy was a champion. But there's a little bit more to it. In college, almost nobody weighs the limit of heavyweight. Almost nobody. They all come in much lighter. Brock Lesnar in the finals for the NCAA championship was the limit, roughly 280 pounds, and he took on a guy named Wes Hand out of Iowa who was 220 pounds. That match went into double overtime, and Brock won. But there's a 60-pound swing, and I can tell you as a wrestler, there's not a man ever to walk this earth that I outweigh by 60 pounds who could make it into double overtime with me. 60 pounds of solid muscle versus another guy. You can't tell me that you're better than him. You were just bigger than him. And I don't know that Brock was better than many guys that he faced, but he was bigger than them. And I'm not trying to rewrite the Brock career. Brock can handle a little dust kicked in his face. Life's worked out pretty good for him. But the reality of, could Brock Lesnar, who sucks at this sport, versus Jon Jones, who's amongst the top 3 best to have ever done this sport, is there any way in make-believe land, aside from the attraction of that, the attraction that is Brock Lesnar versus Jon, is there anything special there competitively? No, it's ridiculous. Is there something there that I would like to see? Because I like a spectacle every now and then. Because you do have 2 former world champions in 2 different weight classes, 2 guys that are coming back. You have similar stories to tell. Is there something fun? Yeah. But not overly compelling. Jon will not play it right. Jon does not understand media or human psychology in the least. He's a guy that's got some great skills, but he needs a promoter to do the rest. Brock doesn't have skills, but he's a master of telling a story and a master of human psychology. Learned that through his time with Vince. I think we could all have some fun there. It's the fight we're never going to see. There is no realisticness to this fight. Just fun to talk about.